All right, everyone. Welcome to the first ever recording of the Cold Pizza Show. We're here with our first ever guest, Aidan Weatherly.
Hello.
Aidan describes himself as a creative thinking host from Atlanta, Georgia, who is the president of Alpha Epsilon Pi, a certified bot, and a JMU visionary. Aidan, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored. I mean, this is the first episode, and you guys reached out to me, and I'm ready. And you've got the fucking weird looking head thing on the table.
Do you believe in the vision of the podcast?
I mean,
honest answer.
Honest answer. I don't necessarily believe in the vision, but I believe in you guys.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that this podcast may change and may turn into something else. Like, no one is ever like, oh, the best episode of the podcast was when they started, or when they did it at the beginning. It always changes and it gets better. Like, even with Joe Rogan, it starts out not so great and it gets better. I mean, it's hard to compare to him.
I remember one time I just randomly looked up Joe, JRE show, episode 22, which is him on a couch with the broke-ass camera sitting next to Bill Burr, and they're just trolling for an hour.
That was even the thing.
Yeah, and it's so, Rogan's got his beard, he's got some hair, it's so old.
It's going to be crazy looking back on this, too.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a flex, though, having the college budget. We're literally sitting in a retreat right now.
Yeah, it's on paper towels recording us.
Our phones are set up on
You
rice and
can't see
paper
it,
towels,
but
so we
yeah.
couldn't afford cameras, so I had to go through deleting my photos for 45 minutes just to get space for this.
Yeah, to use your parents' money to buy you a phone and use this recording camera.
You can't even use my phone, I got a home button.
Lash has a home button.
I'm home button guy.
So me, Hunter, and Aidan, we lived together in Belgium last fall. That's where we became friends. We did some crazy things together. Anyone knows Aidan knows he's a diehard Jew. You'll never catch him with a cross on his neck.
Never, literally never.
And I think one of the craziest things that we did, which I want him to talk about more, was we went to Dachau, which was the first ever concentration camp created by the Nazis, and it was a crazy experience. I just want you to go more into that and what it was like.
Yeah, sure. Well, so I always thought it was going to be a little bit of an interesting experience because growing up Jewish, I'd known about the Holocaust for as long as I can remember. I know y'all didn't really learn about it until middle school, but kindergarten, first grade, I was going to a Jewish day school and was getting told about this stuff, and it's in my community. So I've met around 6-7 Holocaust survivors. I've talked one-on-one with Holocaust survivors, and so obviously the Jew jokes are funny for sure, but I've definitely got that other perspective and that connection, and I will say that right when we arrived at Dachau, we got off the bus, I just felt this weird chill go down my
energy
body.
definitely
I remember
dropped.
looking at you, and it was everyone we were with. I wasn't with you, but I was with you and a couple other people. I can't remember who. Everyone we were with were pretty down bad, but you had this weird combination of sadness, confusion, and extreme anger.
Yeah.
It was almost your genetics were blitzing through your blood or something.
Yeah, I mean,
freaking out.
My genetics are also from Austria-Hungary.
Yeah.
My great grandmother is from Austria-Hungary and left there in 1935, because of this shit.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is, and that's why I'm in America. That's why I'm a person.
So they left in 1935.
Yeah, before it got too bad.
Did they leave because they thought something bad was happening?
Yes,
or just
legitimately.
Really?
Yeah,
They knew
legitimately.
it was going down for sure.
So they knew
Yeah.
years in advance this was going to go down.
It was kind of spread around for a while.
Nazism started popping off right after World War I.
Yeah.
It was Nazi Germany before they went to war. It was Nazi Germany right after.
Mm-hmm. And it was just yeah, exactly. It was World War I, and Germany got blamed with everything. I mean, we learned about it in history class, and they were just oh, fuck, what do we do? And Adolf Hitler was this amazing speaker who could bring and unify all these people together, who seemed to have a plan. And he wasn't he didn't come out of the gate saying oh, fuck the Jews, hate these guys. It was starting off oh, let's build this platform, let's start and work on this. And they were an easy scapegoat because, I mean, Jews being persecuted is part of being Jewish.
Have you ever experienced hate personally, face to face? I know you've seen about it in the news, genocides and things like that. But have you ever experienced it on the street or?
Not on the street, but I don't wear a chai, which is life in Hebrew, or I don't wear a Star of David or anything. But my older brother went to I think it was, I'm not sure exactly where it was in Europe, but he went after his senior year in high school and he was backpacking with his friends. and he had a Star of David around his neck, and he was in an Airbnb with these guys who introduced themselves as Adolf, and like were like skinheads, like were like Nazis, and like following him around because
What kind of camp was this?
Oh,
no, this was not. He just went by himself
Oh,
to Europe with his friends.
Oh, okay.
And they were like following him around, and so they like had to like leave.
Where
but
was he?
I don't know exactly where it was in Europe. I think it was Eastern Europe. But that's the thing about anti-Semitism there is that it's so deeply rooted. Like, it's been there for centuries. That's why, like, I did not mention it when we were in Belgium or whenever we were traveling. Like, I'm not going to be outwardly saying, like, oh, I'm Jewish. Like, I mean, it's not going to really benefit you anytime, except, like, when you meet someone else who's Jewish.
Right.
But I feel like we're getting sidetracked from the concentration camp question. But I'll just say quickly that I've never experienced hate necessarily, but it's more that before people realize I'm Jewish, I'll hear them how they talk about Jews, and like they'll say things kind of offhand, and I'm like, oh, like I didn't realize like people were like that. And there was always those awkward moments where I'd be like, you know I'm Jewish, right? And they're like, oh, no, I didn't. And it's like, okay, like think about your words.
Do you think they're just kind of like spitting stuff that they've heard, or like genuine things they believe? Because there's always like, oh, someone said this, it influenced my mind, and I repeat it. But like, do you think they genuinely believe whatever this like stuff, whatever the negative things are saying?
I wouldn't say they necessarily genuinely believe it, because, I mean, Jews only make up 0.2% of the world population.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not like many people have had personal interactions with Jewish people, but propaganda has consistently been our enemy.
Right.
And that's what happened in World War II. Like, Hitler was talking about, because the only people who were doing fine in Germany at the time were the people who had jobs in banks and people who had, like, were trading. And that's, like, Jews have been forced into that area because of our nature. We've been persecuted forever, and that's why we started becoming traitors, because no one else would do anything with us unless we made it worth it for them. And so that's why Jews became traitors, and then started getting, and we're good at organizing, getting into money, and like that, like I kind of understand the conspiracy theories. Like,
I don't even think it's conspiracy. I think it's the culture is kind of stay in the culture, and it's not like you're excluding people from it. It's more just like that's how it's always been, and like Jews left their kind of part of the world, so they had to kind of stick together to like still be a community.
Yeah, no, exactly. And education has always been an extremely high priority. It's always like everyone I know. Like, I mean, think about the Jewish stereotypes. It's like doctor, lawyer, accountant. It's like
good stereotypes to have.
Rich.
Money grubbing.
Money
But
grubbing hogs.
that's what I was gonna say. But no, it's
Isn't
true.
that actually what they called you in high school?
only my
So now
only
that we
my
have you
close
here,
friends.
the real question we wanted to ask: how much money did you get?
How much money did
Yeah,
I
how much
get?
money did you get for your bar mitzvah?
For my bar mitzvah?
Bar
Excuse
mitzvah?
you.
Sorry. I didn't mean to be
Yeah,
culturally
yeah.
deficient.
You're racist. But I was 13 and I got around 10 grand. But I did, so I'd learned Hebrew throughout my entire life. I read it, I spoke it, and I had to practice for like 2 years. Obviously, my parents paid for these lessons. But I had to practice for 2 years and then get in front of the congregation, know what I'm talking about. And I kind of like read into what I was saying during my bar mitzvah. And I don't know if I like necessarily agreed with what I was saying, but got to get that bag some way.
What was learning Hebrew like?
What were you saying? Like, what did you not agree with?
I mean, I don't. It's funny because my section was talking about how like if a man lays with another man, he should be like stoned to death, basically. So it's like all the anti-gay stuff. But like that's not. I don't know.
Were you even considering that kind of thing though when you were 13?
Yeah.
I mean, I heard that I was doing it, and I was like, whoa. This is what I'm saying to everyone.
Yeah,
but I wasn't like, moral of the story is don't be gay. But like,
Yeah.
that's not what I took away from it. And I feel like that's the thing with like, like in America, like with the Constitution, there are like strict Federalists, and then there are just like, I forget the other name, but it's people who think that you can only say or like read what it says, and then there are people who think it's like a living document that like changes with the time and adapts. That's kind of how I view the Torah.
Yeah.
And it's just like I feel like it's better that way. And like there are sects of Judaism as well, but like it's not very common to know about them. But like I'm a Reformed Jew.
I've learned a lot about the sects of Judaism.
Really,
like
really?
Pharisees, Sadducees. I don't know if those are old. Those still like a thing. Like I didn't.
It's more like it's like conservative, and then like reform.
I feel like I know some of them were conservative. I don't remember. I remember like their idea was like it was a certain one. It was more like the aristocratic ones. Like they believed that they put like a barrier around the Torah. So there's the Torah, right?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want to break the Torah, right? Because they want to break the covenant. Bad things would happen. That's what they believed.
Yeah.
So they put another layer around that. So if they said like, for example, like the whatever you said, like you can't be gay, right? They would put a bigger barrier where it'd be like, don't even have any kind of like physical relationship with a man, like don't even touch them or something like that.
Oh,
because they wanted to make sure you don't even come close to crossing the boundary.
I see.
So they would put even more restrictions on it. So I would consider that to be conservative form of Judaism.
Yeah, I mean, and when we were in Belgium as well, we saw like a little bit of part of that. Like when we went to the Diamond District and we saw the extremely old, like Jewish religion. Like, I mean, it's
Those
crazy.
people definitely were super Jews.
Oh, they were
They're
extreme
mad
Jews.
Hair braids, all dressed up in tuxes all day long.
It was like the wife shaves her head and puts on a wig type of Jewish. I didn't realize this, but so for my chapter here, everyone has an advisor. Our advisor is the local rabbi, Rabbi Morty. I love that man to death. He's he's just amazing.
Hopefully he listens to this. What's up, Morty?
Yeah, just not on Friday
Morty,
night.
we'd love to have you on.
Not on Friday
Yeah,
night
Morty,
or
pull up.
Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Tommy, can you pull up a picture of Morty?
I do have a picture with him on my phone. I took one today with him. But his wife wears a wig, like, all the time, like, around other people. And, like, he doesn't hug women because he's not supposed to touch other women who are not his wife because he saves that touch for his wife.
I've never even heard anything about Jewish women wearing wigs. Like, what is that?
Yeah, neither have I.
It's like a very old, very traditional thing to do, and like we learned about it in Belgium, but like it was probably like to me it was one of the things that stuck out. But I knew a bunch of the stuff they were already saying.
Yeah.
But it was funny to see all you guys like learn about Judaism.
It was unfortunate that day was also at like 7 a.m. or however early it was, and it was hella cold. So a lot of people were.
And everyone
like,
was
I wish I
hella
was
hungover.
able.
Yeah,
everyone was hella
everyone was very
hungover.
hungover.
So I wish I was able to like soak in more of the knowledge that they were teaching us,
Yeah.
but. We were all just down bad. But share with us what you learned, bro.
No, I want to hear about Dachau, bro. I wanna
Okay,
hear
yeah,
about
Dachau. We're getting away. Okay, so we get off the bus and just like I'm not a very superstitious person. Like I don't believe in ghosts. I don't like think that there's like I don't know. But it was like a chill went through my body. And maybe it's because I have this background, like I was saying, in Judaism, and I've known so many people who have personally gone through Dachau. Like some of these survivors I met went through Dachau, and we also went on the trip in Bastogne, the Battle of the Bulge, and we were driving in the back of those jeeps, and I remember thinking, wow, like if this were 80 years ago, like I would have been a young U.S. soldier in this war, and I had that same feeling when I was at Dachau. A young Jewish male walking through there, I was like 80 years ago, and with my family, I would have been here. Like this would have been my fate. And I had known all the facts that I heard, but hearing the personal statements from the like audio guide and seeing it with my own eyes just filled me with like extreme sadness and rage. And it was like, I was not expecting it. And I was flipping back and forth. And like, you guys know I'm a pretty like temperamented. I'm calm generally. I feel like that's one of my best skills is I can stay calm, and I was just like out of it. And
Especially in Amsterdam.
yeah, that's another story though. But it was insane to walk through there, walk on the same ground, be in the same bunks, like. I remember I sat in the gas chamber by myself for like 15 minutes.
Whoa,
Yeah.
how
Dude, I couldn't
deep did
stay
you
in
guys
there
get
for
in this
more than like
place?
20 seconds.
Yeah.
No, I was like, I remember it was freezing that day, and I took off my coat, I took off my gloves, I took off like all the clothing I could because I was like, I felt wrong for feeling cold because I was like, these people were
didn't
here.
have shoes.
They didn't. Yeah, they had wooden shoes that didn't fit them. They had extremely thin clothing, and it was snowing, and it was colder while they were there. So I felt like super privileged, and I was like, this is not. It felt wrong to me. And I remember just sitting there, and like I just like put my hand on each wall and just like felt it, and I don't know why. It sounds like kind of corny, but like it was just an extremely deep moment. And I think every Jewish person would not every, but lots of Jewish people would resonate with that feeling of just like wow, like this is my community. This is the culture. This is like this amazing community that I was brought up in that I love so much. And like someone was filled with such hatred that they would like periodically and very strategically kill us.
Organized mass
Yeah,
murder.
so
Organized-
strategically.
Organized
so
mass murder to
strategically.
kill us. Like, and they were like planning out when they wanted to kill us, how they wanted to kill us. They were doing tests on Jews, and like in their mind it was just right. And like honestly that like thought of like following orders, that's always been a hard thing for me to think about, because obviously it's like, how could you do this? But at the same time, like, I'm not trying to be like a Nazi sympathizer, but these guys had families, and this was the reigning government in Germany. There was no choice but to follow it. And if you tried to
And
leave,
they were extremely powerful.
yeah, if you tried to leave, you were killed.
Yeah, at the same time, if you didn't follow the orders, you were being tossed in gas chambers as well.
Yeah, you were dead.
Like, you were getting killed.
You were getting
Like,
killed.
There was hundreds of thousands of German like Nazis that were killed in the concentration camp because they didn't conform.
Was
which is also insane.
Was Dachau a death camp or a concentration camp?
So it was the main hub. It was the first concentration camp, and it ran for 12 years in total. And it's also where the man who eventually led and like organized all of Auschwitz, he was trained at Dachau. So Dachau is where a lot of the Nazis were trained to go elsewhere. And that led, like, that was another part about it. Like, you do a whole tour, you walk around, you see everything, and then at the end there's like a museum that you can walk through. And I didn't know that people were trained at Dachau, and like this is where they like were taught how to like systematically kill people, which was just like blowing my mind. And the
I think
crazy
Heinrich, what was his name? Heinrich? Or
Maybe.
Himmler?
I don't remember.
I think
Yeah.
like one of the top SS guys was trained at Dachau.
Was his name Heinrich? I feel like
Heinrich Himmler.
I feel like
don't
I
know.
heard Himmler.
One
sounds
of the
familiar.
top like
Heim something.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
with an H
Something
and an ick.
German.
one of the top Nazi freaks was like trained at Dachau.
Did you say this was the first one?
It was the
Yeah.
first concentration
Yeah.
camp.
And it was so what they kind of spread around this, or like
And it ran from
nuts.
I think from 1933 to 1945.
that's crazy. That's because 1933 is also a crazy date because that's like before World War II even started.
Yeah.
So like they were just like all right,
Yeah.
like, let's start running it now. Like
And it was in like Dachau was in a legit neighborhood. Like there's like you look past the fences and the gravel and you see like houses where people still live.
yeah, I was about to ask that. Like, what's the
it's
vibe around this place? Like, do people even want to live near this place where
The whole
so many people
vibe
died?
of the place, and it's not even just the day. Like
Yeah.
the whole place was gray.
Yeah.
The whole place.
I'm
was,
picturing like
was just,
gray. Like I'm picturing
gray.
like no sunlight.
no,
and
yeah.
just
no
like-
laughter,
Extremely bleak.
no smiles.
Extremely
like,
bleak.
I remember it was like weirdly sunny that day. Like it was like a beautiful day, and I remember looking up and just being like, "Damn, all these people saw the same sunrise every single day as they like got in lines and starving to death and
just
like
waiting to die.
waiting
That's
to
really what they were
die.
doing.
My mom said the same thing. I sent
Yeah.
her a picture because when I was there, like the sun was setting and there was snow all over the ground and it was like beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm
But
looking
the,
for
the,
pictures
the
of that.
setting
Yeah,
was
some
like
pictures.
a place
Oh,
where
of you when you were there?
thousands, millions of people were murdered. So it's just like all this beauty and then so much like death and torture and hate was in this place. But like it was beautiful. It was weird. It was a weird
That's
experience.
exactly what I'm just grayness.
Yeah, so that
Just the city
I'm
around
pulling
it.
up I'm pulling up the picture of the entrance.
Yeah.
Jamie, could you pull that up for us on the
Yeah,
TV?
we should low key put that up. so
And then
people can
there's
see it.
Yeah.
this picture, which I thought was like kind of artistic because it's like a beautiful sunset over the
Yeah,
background.
Exactly.
It's like a what's that?
it was a
what's that
super
word?
nice day. Like I remember when we were in Germany.
Juxtaposition.
I think
Yeah.
when we were in
Juxtaposed.
Germany for like 10 days, every single day was cloudy except for this one. Like some weird like
It was
weirdly
it was
sunny
weird.
and
You
and
think
the
they
sun
laughed
felt
in
good.
there? You think they? There's
I-
any
There
kind
was
of
like little
happiness?
children in there, so like
I don't know.
I don't think
mean,
I don't
I
think
don't
It's
know
like
if
an
they-
unimaginable.
I don't think
It's
concentration
unimaginable,
camps were
but,
very
like-
rife with joy, but
Yeah,
They-
but do you
they
think they
definitely weren't
like
rife with
what
joy.
did they experience? Obviously, they weren't happy to be there. But
Yeah.
you think they even experienced the small little like
are you talking about the
pleasures?
soldiers
I guess
or
like the Jews.
the Jews? I mean, the thing is like obviously the Holocaust was like aimed at the Jews, but like people forget that there were like 13 million people killed and 6 million were Jews.
Yeah.
So like a little under 50%, but like if you were gay, if you were handicapped, if you were a gypsy, if you were like not fitting the Aryan form, you were put in a concentration camp. It was just Jews were like kind of top of the list, like top priority.
Right. What I kind of got from it was like there was a bunch. So Hitler outlined a bunch of reasons why Germany's failing, because after World War I, it was like the biggest insult to the country.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, they also had mass hyperinflation.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
So there were so many things to complain about. You know, there's so many problems. So it was, okay, this problem A can be solved by getting rid of the Jews. Problem B can be solved by getting rid of this group. You know what I'm saying? So they were all targeted. Jews are probably the most prominent one, and also holding a lot of the money, so that they took the bulk of the damage.
And I mean, that's the thing is I forget, there was one quote that I read there, and it was by, I think, like some priest or something. And he was like, when they came for the Jews, I didn't say anything. When they came for the gypsies, I didn't say anything because, or yeah, it was like, when they came for the Jews, I didn't say anything because I wasn't Jewish. When they came for the gypsies, I didn't say anything because I wasn't a gypsy. When they came for the handicapped, I didn't say anything because I wasn't handicapped. And then when they came for me, there was no one else left to say anything. And like, that quote, like even just now, that was like a little chilling to me. Like, they were, I mean, Hitler was trying to reinvent the race of Germany. And
I think beyond Germany, bro, the whole world.
No, eventually the whole world.
Yeah, but like he was thinking on a global.
Yeah,
he
wanted to take over the world and like, I mean, but like that's what every dominator wants to do.
He was trying to take like evolution into his hands. Like he was thinking about the stuff on a genetical level, like chemically. Like he wasn't. Yeah,
the experiments were
were
all
crazy experiments.
Were all around this, and like I've watched many documentaries and like. They did like really, really freaky stuff with like Jewish twins and like seeing how
exactly what you're talking about. Siamese twins and all this stuff, nuts, bro.
It's like they don't even like some of them are still living and they don't even know what they did to them and they just like are like living with the aftermath of it, and it's just crazy that these people could just do it. Like I just don't know how they were like it seems like they were an army full of psychopaths.
Yeah, that's what I'm about. It's like, why? How did morals drop? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what does that come from? Because there's nothing wrong with German. I like German people. I met a German friend in internship. He's so nice, so cool. So like, what happened to just kind of bring people to this level of like, we don't care about humanity? Or
well, I mean, the PR
rights.
Team definitely wanted to change it around after World War II. They're like, this is bad luck.
The PR team.
And also like. And then we can kind of talk about this next, but I want to talk about, like, Nuremberg and, like, the Nuremberg trials because that was insane. And hearing about how, like, I didn't realize this and how important and, like, pivotive this was to history. But, like, whenever you beat someone in a war, it was never, oh, let's put them on trial. It was like, let's take them and kill them. Like, let's get rid of them.
Yeah.
But they decided, hey, let's gather all of us. Let's get like a fair court and let's put them to trial. It's power paying like respect to reason, and it blows my mind that was the first time we did. That's why we have war crimes.
I do think that the Germans were also very well respected, like not in a good way, but just in terms of like they were operating these death camps and fighting a war on two fronts. Like,
they were
extremely
efficient.
Yeah, when I was in Germany, it was just efficiency was everywhere.
They also just got like destroyed in a war right before that.
Yeah.
So like
it was part of their culture. Efficiency is part of their culture.
Yeah.
Like that's just
you can see it in the bathrooms, like 7-Elevens. Like I don't even know how to explain it.
No, like that's even something I noticed when I was there. Yeah. Like one thing that stuck out to me about the efficiency, like one thing that's the epitome is they had escalators into this train station that only went down. Like that just makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And like that's a small thing that you don't even think about, but that's just like peak efficiency. And that's why they're the worst country to have a genocide.
They literally organize the murder.
Yeah,
like they don't want to leave bodies in the street. Like they want to make
sure. One thing that I noticed when I was in Germany is that a lot of the people, like Germans, are very prideful, but I'd say like 95% of them are also remorseful of what happened.
They definitely are.
For sure.
It's almost like the way I see it is how it's deep rooted. Like the anti-Semitism is deep rooted, is how it is in like America with like racism.
I thought you were gonna say with like slavery and shit.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm getting at. It's the same thing. Like a lot of people hate that racism exists in America. A lot of people in Germany hate that anti-Semitism is a thing that like still like persists. But there's still that like 2%.
That loud minority.
There's that loud minority that were slave owners and still believe in slavery, or their grandparents were Nazis and they hate Jews. Like.
Yeah.
These things still persist, but I'd say that a majority of these people just honestly feel so remorseful for what happened, but they also are not willing to turn their backs on their country.
Yeah.
Which is respect. It's respect.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a very weird balance, I will say. But the thing is, it's just like it was Nazis this time. Like the the Jews stay getting persecuted.
Yeah.
That's what I said. It's part of the culture.
Isn't it written in the Torah or something that they're meant to suffer?
I don't know if it's saying meant to suffer. I say
I thought you told me that once. I think you told me that.
They believe they will suffer if they don't adhere to the covenant. Yeah. So they say they don't adhere to the covenant. It's like we're gonna suffer. Like we like every time something would that's when Jesus popped up because they were suffering.
Can you give like a quick overview of what the covenant is?
The covenant is the Torah. The covenant is the book that says, well, there's the 10 Commandments. There's like love your neighbor. The just the basic don't
love
sin.
thy
Yeah,
neighbor.
Love thy neighbor. Okay, yeah. See, he's got an extra Jew on me.
I've got the language down.
Yeah.
It's the lawyer in me. It's the lawyer in me.
Yeah, the specifics. Yeah, so they always believed if we're not adhering to the covenant, then something bad's gonna happen to us. So, like for example, Jesus was a Jew, and when he was preaching as a Jew. He's a rabbi. He's saying all these things are happening to us. The Romans were dominating. They're the force that has come to like just control us and conquer us because we have not been listening to the covenant. Guys, let's get together and stop sinning. That was a very quick summary of what Jesus did. But like that was kind of where it came from. Same thing with Moses. Like,
and then he died.
And then he died.
There was that big hole.
Yeah, that whole thing. Yeah. This little small
the
thing.
thorns and the.
I don't think a lot of people even know about it, to be honest.
What's your view on Jesus?
What's my?
Is he a Messiah in your eyes?
I mean, obviously not. If I'm Jewish, I don't think he's the Messiah. That's like the main difference between Judaism and Christianity.
Right.
Is Christians believe that Jesus is the Messiah, and then Jews don't. And then people are talking about like a second coming and yada yada yada. I mean, for me, it was like Jesus was never really talked about. I did ask my rabbi about it, like, what's good with Jesus? Yeah, that's actually what I said word for word. But
The rabbi was like, "That's my boy."
oh, that Jew?
Nah, he's not chill. He's not chill.
Like, there's no lessons. There's no prayers. Anything centered around Jesus.
No,
Is he recognized as a messenger for Judaism?
No. He's not a prophet, but it's not like they deny that Jesus was a person. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, Jesus was a person for sure. Jesus was born and died a Jew. Like, that's something people don't think about a lot as well, is like Christianity wasn't started until like hundreds of years after he died. And it was by his disciples that was like passed down. And I feel like it might get controversial, but like
That's what we need.
I mean, we just want your experience.
Yeah.
Your
No,
take.
I guarantee it's not controversial.
but like
Me and Vince were raised Christian. Were you raised Islamic?
I was not raised Islamic at
Muslim?
all.
Okay.
What were you raised?
I was raised. My parents weren't. My parents.
Did they
I don't
talk
want to get
about
into what they
God?
got, but they saw a lot of bad stuff about Islam. They grew up like during the revolution, so they weren't really about this
They
religious
never
stuff.
really forced religion on you?
They never
Did
did.
they talk
but
about
my
God?
Not really. But like my parents like accidentally signed me up for a summer camp for like 6 years in a row. And it was at that massive church like across the street, and they just didn't know. They're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Triple C summer camp." So then I just kind of like learned about Jesus, and then I was like, "Oh, this guy sounds lit. Like he died for me. Like it touches you when you're a kid because these people are telling you all this crazy stuff, and I like Jesus. I've got no problem with Jesus.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Jesus is all about like forgiveness for sin, and for me, the difference in Judaism of like philosophy is it's okay to make mistakes, but it's all about like fixing your wrongs. And like so sin is the main focus of Christianity, and mitzvahs are like the opposite of that in Judaism, and it's doing good things. So there are like 613 mitzvahs or mitzvot, which are all the good things that you can do, which is like the golden rule is one of them. Like treat others how you want to be treated. Like that's a big mitzvah. Or like doing a certain prayer is a mitzvah. Or giving back to your community is a mitzvah. And I like that it focuses more on the good rather than the bad, because there's absolutely zero guilt in Judaism. That's not a part of it. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're almost supposed to make mistakes. And you're supposed to learn from them and come back, which it's definitely a sentiment that's shared in Christianity. But I feel like, personally, I've seen some Christian friends who have grown up with just this intense guilt of
I think that happened to me for sure.
It's true, yeah.
I was like atheist for like 2 years. Probably my junior year and senior year of high school, I was atheist just because living with such intense moral consequences over your head all the time was just too much to handle. But then I kind of have changed from that. and I'm subject to changing. I change all the time, like in yearly sprouts. But like right now, I'm pretty
And we're
religious.
college students.
We're
like,
college students. Who knows?
We're changing
But
a bunch right now.
I do definitely think that the Catholic Church is too based upon. I grew up Catholic more specifically,
Same.
and I felt that it was just too much fear instilled in me. I felt like I couldn't be my true self, and you should be acting out of love, not out of fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The Catholic Church definitely instilled way too much fear. The rules were like far too strict. Like I was raised Catholic, but I wouldn't say I'm Catholic at all.
Yeah.
Like I'd say I'm Catholic in some of my moral like ideals, but I don't believe that if I don't repent my sins every Tuesday, I'm going to hell.
Yeah.
Like I just don't. Like that's a question I wanted to ask you.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like I definitely say that you're Jewish in religion, and like the way I would define religion is like the way you carry yourself on earth, your morals, like your
yeah.
standards.
Your day-to-day
But are
kind
you
of, like, activity.
Jewish in spirituality, like the way you view God, the way you view heaven and hell, the way you view the afterlife? Like
So, for a while, I was atheist. Like, just straight up was like, God does not exist, 100%.
what?
But you were
what
still
time
you
was
still
this?
felt very aligned with the Jewish community this time.
Oh, 100%. It's when you're raised Jewish in the culture, it's such a unique experience that, and it's a community that I still loved, even if I didn't believe in the God. I still loved being a part of it, and the people I was surrounded with, who cared a ton about education, who wanted me to do well, just because I was another person in their community. I always felt like it was loving, and obviously this is all coming from like a personal perspective. But I will say, whenever I meet Jews everywhere around the world and across the country, it's a very similar sentiment. But I was atheist for a long time, and I was atheist probably until sophomore year of college.
You're
Maybe-
atheist, but you'd still say like religiously you were Jewish, but
I'd s-
spiritually you were atheist.
I'd say
cultural level.
culturally. I'd say
Culturally?
culturally Jewish.
Like, would you define religion the same way that I did, though? Or,
I wouldn't define. But in your definition, I would say I was religiously Jewish.
Okay.
But that's not how I.
I
would
don't even
define
know
it
if that's the
necessarily.
right definition of religion. That's just how I think.
Yeah,
about it.
no, I think that's a really interesting viewpoint on it. But for me, the religion is like, am I following this? And so, okay, this little background on it. Judaism is like, obviously you know how I am. I have so many questions all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I raised my hand too much in class. I was that kid. And I think it kind of comes from being Jewish partially, because you're encouraged to ask questions. Even like this last Friday on Shabbat, which we can talk about that in a second, with my rabbi, he said Judaism is a religion of question. The one thing you're not allowed to question is God's existence, but you're allowed to question, is God allowed to do this? Why should I listen to God? Why should I follow him? Why are we here? Why should I keep being Jewish? Why should I want to give back to the Jewish community? And all of these questions rabbis openly welcome. And I think people don't realize how much a philosophy that Judaism really is, compared to just a religion. The camera's good.
Yeah, I'm checking the mics. We're good.
What about that camera? Is that camera
Yeah,
fine?
both good.
Yeah, they're nice and sturdy on the towels.
So what's your opinion now on God?
So my opinion now is that I wouldn't say I necessarily believe in the Jewish God, but I believe in a higher power, and I would love to think that if the higher power were to have reason, he would do it the way Judaism has been lined up. Because like there is a hell of sorts in Judaism, but it's not eternal, which I think is the main difference. Like, I think that there are people who you could even say deserve suffering. Like, I think Hitler, and that's like this like awful antagonist in the Jewish like community, the religion. But I don't think he deserves to be eternally damned, like forever.
I actually thought about something interesting with Hitler.
Yeah.
Do you think if you believe in hell, do you think Hitler's like getting slammed in hell, or do you think he was like a demon who was sent from hell and he's like back there chilling with Satan? You know what I mean?
With the demons.
You know, he's chilling. I honestly think he was like
I think
not
he was
even a human,
I think he was human.
or he got overrun by something 100% demonic.
I think so too.
Like I don't know if he's getting punished in hell. I think he's like maybe running the show in
Like
hell.
he's part of it.
Like he's a board man. He's
I mean,
a board on the board.
hey,
of
I feel like he
hell.
just embodied wrath.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like he was the embodiment of wrath.
If
Like,
you
does a
brought
guy like that
hell
get
to
punished,
Earth,
or is he welcomed in? It's like, good job, you know what I mean? Like,
Depends what we believe hell is, though.
that's true.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe that in the hell anyone's really chilling, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
That's
even-
not what hell
I don't
is,
even
yeah.
think the devil's chilling at all.
Yeah,
I think a hell is just a place where God doesn't exist.
What you're thinking of hell is like a burning place where he might be sitting on a throne next to the devil. Hell is just supposed to be like all chaos is ensuing you, and you're just in constant pain.
I think when people think of heaven and hell, they always try to compare it to a human experience,
Yeah.
and it's not a
You
human
can't comprehend
experience.
it.
Yeah.
It's just this different level of like living, of existing. Like, I mean, imagine eternally living in heaven as a human. You would get bored after a million years.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't
Eternity is
matter
just a
how
concept
great
you
it is.
can't, like,
We're not gonna have
comprehend.
emotions. I don't think we can even feel boredom in heaven.
No,
Like, I don't
exactly.
think
It would
that's-
be like
yeah.
just like a pure feeling of bliss.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily like what you're doing or how you're doing it, or like even like the community, because anything eternally is eventually going to turn into something else.
I feel like the way when you say heaven,
Mm-hmm.
the way you feel about heaven is that's what heaven is. I don't think there's other words that can. When someone say,
Interesting.
like when someone says heaven, I'm thinking of like I can't like. There's not like good adjectives to describe it because when I think of heaven, I just think of like learning and just
Yeah, I just
all
think remember when I
consuming
told
knowledge.
I
You know what I'm saying?
said
Yeah.
My view of heaven is the answer to any question you've ever wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
Instant knowledge about
Yeah.
anything ever.
Like bliss. Like I don't know if
Yeah.
that's bliss more than it is just I'm next to God. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm observing through His lens because I've done right in my life.
As of right now, this is my current view. I honestly don't believe that heaven comes after human life. I think right now God is He's testing to see who is really on like the holy side and who can do His work for Him. Like I feel like there's too much free will and there's too much opportunity for sin and easy access around you to. It almost just feels like too big of a test. You
Such
know
a
what I mean?
test. Such a test.
Just
It's
like-
so
like
easy to sin.
Everyday life is
Everyday
a
life
test?
is such a test on right or wrong.
There's so many
and
temptations. Like you
so
could
many-
easily
just-
go to a strip club and
yeah.
shoot everyone there.
Just
Like that.
nonstop
that
temptation.
I wouldn't say that's a
Yeah.
temptation.
Okay, I know.
I'd
yeah,
say
that's
smaller
like-
temptations.
Yeah,
Just
Maybe not the
like-
shooting part, but the strip club part.
yeah, like the strip club part for
Like
some
at
people
JMU,
is
at
like
JMU, the temptations are
Yeah.
literally unlimited all
Yeah.
the time.
Okay. So something that we see. Let's bring it back to
Yeah.
JMU. Something we see. Someone
Alright.
like people like a guy cheating on his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like that is temptation.
Or people just having sex for no reason
Yeah,
all the time.
Yeah. Like that's a temptation that I feel like we constantly
Sloth.
see people.
Yeah.
Gluttony.
Yeah.
Lust.
Exactly.
Like, oh, I got nothing
like-
to do today. Let me just sit down and smoke weed.
Are
and
those
watch a
are those
movie,
just
you know?
instincts at the end of the day? Like as humans. Like
I'd feel like it would be way easier in my life to just sit down and smoke weed and do nothing. But like
I
wouldn't
disagree.
say
I
that's
think
I don't think
instinct.
it's
it'd be-
instinct.
I don't know if it'd be easier for you because I think
Well,
you
not
would
for
do
me.
it.
I don't know how to explain that.
What do you define easier?
Yeah, define easier. I think it'd be
It
super
takes less-
stressful and you'd
it
be so
takes less
unsatisfied.
effort. I
Depends
guess.
though. You just sit there and do nothing. Your mind's just gonna go numb.
Yeah.
well, yeah, but that's easy. I think
That's
I
easy,
agree
yeah.
with I agree
It's
with what
easy
Hunter's
for some
saying,
people. Like for
where
me,
it's
that's
like-
not easy.
Like
I don't. For you, that's
Yeah.
not easy.
like
Yeah.
riding an escalator is easy, but like I'm gonna walk up the stairs sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna just stand there and let nothing happen because that's what is like given to me. Like you need to. I think part of being human and part of why we are such a successful like species is because we get joy out of completing things and like growing and doing things.
I
and,
think
like,
it's part of a man like suffering for a greater purpose. Like
I
going to the
agree.
gym to like better yourself. Like you're not having the greatest time while you're at the gym. Like your muscles are in pain. Like you're fatigued, but you're doing it for a greater purpose. Like us creating this podcast, like it's taking a lot of work behind the scenes. But
and we know a bunch of people are gonna try to hate on
We
us.
know a bunch of people are gonna hate on it. We could actually care less because if you hate on this, you're probably just sitting on your phone doing nothing anyway.
It would have been easier to just sit on the couch
It
and
would
have
have
this
been easier.
conversation with
We
no
put in-
microphones.
before we ever recorded. This is our first ever one. We probably put in like days worth of hours just working on this so far instead of giving into temptations, watching Netflix, doing random stuff. Like we've just been sitting down. We're all taking full course loads of classes.
But in another sense, this conversation is easy, where
Yeah.
it's like this is flowing. This is what I want to be doing right now. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I took like we were trying to do this on another date and it didn't work for me, and then we rescheduled, and I made sure to allot this in my schedule so I could come here because I wanted this. But I think what you were saying about the like pain for pleasure, like something that I always think about is what is victory without the taste of defeat? You can't know good without bad. And like you need both to, and that's why I'm talking about like when people think pure heaven, like if there's no bad, quote unquote, then why would it ever be good? When would you ever be satisfied? And that's why I think more of a feeling. Like I've never really thought about it like that, but I think that's a really, really interesting way of thinking about it.
I think it's kind of a reaction of, like, I want to agree with what Vince was saying, that, like, we're constantly, like, being tested. And I think it's almost like a coincidence the time period we live in right now, because we can survive by sitting on the couch and doing drugs and doing nothing all day long.
Yeah, you have everything.
You can literally
we
live,
have
die,
the
and have
luxury.
kids.
We have the luxury to do
You
that.
can live like that. You can be so fat and just sit on the couch and do nothing and reproduce any location on the world right now. You can have a kid if you really, really wanted to. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could go in the middle of the jungle and reproduce, which is like, you're not gonna. That's obviously not ideal, but that's like, we're breaking down to a biological level. Like, that's, you can do the whatever the end goal of being a human being of reproduction, and you're on the planet.
You also need to think about how much you consume. Like, walk around campus and just think about every time you scroll social media, you just consume. Like, this is the first time where our consumption versus our production is insanely
skewed.
So skewed. Like, what do we produce? We don't really do anything.
Well, there
Everything
are a few
we
people
wait-
who produce.
Yeah, there are a few people who produce everything for all the consumers.
Yeah,
I'm a massive consumer.
The amount of producers are going down, but they're getting more and more influence.
Yeah, and they're getting better.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they're getting
Like,
so
Amazon
much
is
better.
insanely good. You know what I mean? Like, we're good consumers. Like, we know what we want.
Don't even
Yeah,
need
we
people
know how to
anymore.
get
This
it.
is one of our first steps into being on
Production,
the production side.
Part of the reason I wanted
true.
to do
That's
this
really
was because
true,
like I spend my screen time's like 4 hours a day, right? That's probably 2 hours of social media. I'm just taking in other people's products all day long. At some point, if I keep looking at these apps, like, I gotta post something, or else I'm just gonna go crazy.
Yeah, that's why I hate advertisements on TV. It's just like, I feel like I'm just getting brainwashed. I don't know. It's just like, buy this, buy. I don't know. It's just like, I just feel like they're like, when they wrote that and they were sitting there, they're thinking, okay, what can we do to manipulate the person looking at this to do exactly what we want?
Okay,
So
well,
we can
that
get
was
their
their
money.
goal. That was
something
their
I
mission
want
statement or
to
whatever.
kind of talk about as well is manipulation, and like, I feel like manipulation has a very negative connotation to it. But it's funny, when someone does something negative, you call it manipulative, and when someone does something positive, you call it influence or leadership or inspiration.
Right.
And it's just very interesting to think about, because you could say they're manipulating you, right? But what if it's an advertisement for like something that's going to improve your everyday life and make you a happier person, but you just don't know it yet? It's like, I see where you guys are coming from, but I feel like it's two sides of a coin.
I think the
Right.
difference in the word manipulation is that the person's doing it with negative intent, and that's why it has
think
like,
it's
a
malicious,
negative
you're
I
connotation.
think
saying?
That's
manipulation
malicious.
is malicious. Influence, I don't know. I don't know if influence
Influence
is
is
even
like doing the same. Like, they're both trying to open your eyes to something that you might not have opened your eyes to before. Except I don't think manipulation necessarily has your best interest at mind. It has whoever's manipulating you's best interest.
it's not a win-win.
Yeah, I agree.
Manipulation is not a win-win.
I mean, what are we doing with this podcast right now? Like, we're trying to
Create something.
kind of
Inspire.
inspire.
is a win-win.
What are we really doing here?
Producing.
Yeah, we are producing. We
Not-
actually
not consuming. I mean, but in a sense, we're
trying to
consuming a
ins-
conversation
I feel like
as
we're
well.
trying to. I feel like we're good conversationalists. Maybe I'm just cocky, but
No, I mean, that I feel like that's part of JMU's culture, is being good at talking to people.
Exactly.
Like, I've never met a school or a community of more extroverts in my entire life.
Yeah.
I think that's what we have. When I went to my internship, like everyone, I was the only person from JMU there, and I felt like I had the best social skills.
That's why our business school is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because the soft skills at JMU are off the charts. Like, it's so easy for me to just go talk to someone and not feel this like social pressure or like this anxiety that I feel like a lot of people feel elsewhere in their lives, and just have a conversation with them, and I can tell that they feel that way back. And like, even like I met you recently. This is like my third conversation with you.
Yeah.
And like, it's like,
No, the first time we ever hung out, we probably had conversations really similar to this one for like 3 hours straight on like the deck or whatever. We were talking about like Jesus and Judaism and all that stuff.
Except they weren't recorded, and we were
We
hammered.
used to have the craziest conversations of all time in the basement of our building that we lived in Belgium.
Oh
Yeah.
The dungeon.
Yeah, the dungeon.
I would say
It doesn't
when
exist
you were
though.
saying that
Molly
this-
Brown.
Laura, anyone listening to this, it doesn't exist. I will say though, when you were
My name's totally not signed on the ceiling. Someone forged
Yeah,
that.
at the end of the day, though, fuck Baloo, bro.
when we were talking about things being easy. Facts. Hey, yo, facts. What? when we were talking about things being easy, and you like had said that this conversation
Yo,
was
cunts,
easy.
can you pull that up?
Can you pull that up for us? Blue. Picture of Blue.
Jamie, pull it up.
All right. Anyway, we were talking about things being easy, and you were saying like this conversation is easy.
Yeah.
And I think you're like-minded with all of us at this table to the point where like this conversation is easy because you enjoy like having intellectual conversation, learning from other people, talking about things that you're passionate about talking about. But I also feel like as social as JMU is, not a lot of people are passionate about talking about like cool, interesting things. Like our friend Kunz, for example, who's staring at us right now. His favorite things to talk about include Snapchat,
fraternities,
Instagram,
sororities,
frat,
which
drinking.
is cool stuff to talk about. I
Yeah.
guess 1% of the time, but when you're at 98% of the time.
Well, here's also one thing
bro.
I want to say to Aidan too is this conversation is easy because we did something that wasn't easy before we got here. You know what I'm saying? You went through like
A lot of prep.
You learned a lot of things about your culture. You were stepping inside a concentration camp, which is like I can't imagine that. If I were you, I feel like that would explode my brain too. You know, you've gone through a lot of things to get here. Like I remember like when we made like our mock first episode. Like Mitch was like, we had to bool for 10 years before we could do something like this. You know, like we had to bool it really, really hard. We worked
we had
hard
to do a
at
bunch of
booling.
crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Because
I feel like we've always kind of had this mindset, but this is the first time we've completely turned it public facing to the point where we're like, okay, I feel like other people kind of need to hear this.
yeah. Not
Don't-
need to hear it. I mean,
It might be interesting for them to hear.
Interesting for them to
I think
hear.
a big part of it is motivating people to want to come on. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like you got to be able to have something to say
That's
to
one of
get
our
here.
purposes
Yeah.
too. Is like we find it fun to talk to new cool people all the time.
Yeah.
And we love to have the opportunity to do that. And like you're one of our friends, and you're like a very interesting person to talk to, a very cool person to talk to. But like the end goal would be to talk to these. I'm not saying you're not interesting.
No,
person,
no,
but
I
I'm
know-
saying,
Someone-
like, there's
someone
so
new,
many
yeah.
different people like
I
in the
understand.
world that we don't even know exist yet. It
Yeah.
would be awesome to talk to.
and then we're
Yeah.
trying to full specialize it within our community that everyone can relate to.
I mean, like, just an example from my perspective is Kiwi, like Kivash. Like, you were a person I met from them.
Right.
And, like,
And
that
vice
is,
versa.
this is an example of me, like, extending the network of cool people.
Yeah.
Of, like,
Thanks.
of getting to know other people. And, like, I mean, at first I didn't think I was going to like you, Hunter and Vince. Like,
why do you say that?
I mean,
what was your first impression?
yeah, I mean, my,
First impression.
my first impression of you guys.
My
was
first
that-
impression of you is that you're a money grubbing Jew. I kid.
It's because how I smell, right? You could feel it. Yeah, I've got that a lot actually. No, but
like a dog.
it's I remember. I mean, we met in the airport, and I was talking to you, Vince, and you just had this demeanor about yourself. Like, I thought you were a cocky motherfucker. Like, I thought you
I
were.
kind of
like,
am.
Yeah, I mean, you are, but like you acknowledge it more than I thought you would.
Yeah.
And like you're like, yeah, I'm kind of cocky. I mean, I'd say you're more confident than cocky.
Yeah.
But obviously you're still a little cocky.
Yeah.
But that's just the Speroni genes. Like
Yeah.
that's your family.
Yeah.
I mean, your brothers are specimens. But anyway,
Yeah.
getting off topic. And then Hunter, I saw you and I was like, oh, this kid's dumb. And
I just looked up.
The way he said it made it sound like he still believes it.
no.
I just looked dumb, man.
A little bit. But no, I'm kidding. I think you were someone who I met, and I did not expect anything from you, and you turned out to be one of the most like quirky and interesting and creative people I've ever met, and I was just not expecting that at all. I mean, my first introduction was you. Oh yeah, like I'm in Pike, and like I
Did the fact that we were in two big fraternities influence your prior thought?
I mean, yeah.
I feel like there's too much speculation about someone's personality here at the school based off what organization they're in.
I mean, that's just part of the
so
Greek
how
life.
much? Yeah.
I mean, don't judge a book by its cover, but I read the title.
Yeah.
Like, I was looking at you guys and like face value, I was like setting expectations, I guess.
Yeah.
And I wasn't gonna say like, oh, this is definitely how they're gonna be, but it's like this is kind of where they're at. And like for you, Vince, it was like, oh, like I know one other person in KA, and it was the other Vince, and I love him. I thought he's a really cool guy. I honestly didn't get to know him very well. We went to the same high school, but that was my only other person I knew in there. I didn't know anyone in Pike, so you were my introduction to them. I mean, I know Pike in general.
Just a bunch of dumb idiots. No, that's something I rarely think about, though, is, like, my first impressions with people. Like, it's something that I think about going in, I guess. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I never would have thought that you would have taken me as that after first meeting me, I guess. Because I guess I don't know that that's how I present myself at first. which is also something I don't really care about.
Yeah.
Because face value, I could really care less, like, what you think about me. Like, I know who I am. My close friends, the people I love, the people that love me know who I am.
That's another thing, is you guys were very sure of yourselves. And, like, after I had a conversation with each of you, I was like, oh, okay, these guys are very different than what I thought. And then when we made our trip to Amsterdam, I completely, that changed my view on you guys completely.
I would say the same for you.
Yeah, what about Con?
Well, the first time I met Kunz, he told me, I forget it, I think his name was, he said, oh, I'm
said
Jordan
Julian.
something.
He said Julian.
Julian, yeah.
Julian.
Shout out
Bauman?
Julian Bauman.
So,
Julian
I mean,
Bauman.
and I'd been told that you were just like a major troller. And like immediately I was already getting trolled. And I was like, okay. You're wearing a fur coat too.
It was tough. You're looking mad drippy.
It was looking a little drippy, but like I was like, and I just heard these stories about it. I was like, oh shit, like this is Kunz right here. But now I know that you're all about that bronze puss and
No Browns.
Browns.
bronze. Yeah,
I remember
third
my
place.
first impression of you in the airport is when we landed in Brussels and we were waiting for our bags. And like I think yours didn't come out or something, so I'd stayed back to wait for your bag with you. So I was kind of talking to you one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember kind of thinking in my head like, I don't know how well I'm gonna get along with this person because I didn't know how social you were at the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just remember the way you spoke, and I could already tell off the bat that you thought of things in a very analytical way. So it makes sense, like your career path, like your
Yeah,
passions and
yeah.
stuff. But I could tell that like after first meeting you, and then it's after that that I understood that you have the social aspect, you have the introspection, you have the religious views and everything. But that's what I think. A lot of people's first views of people can be really construed.
I mean, yeah, that's why I'm a certified.
Because you thought I was dumb. You thought I was dumb, and then you realized,
And a
and
visionary.
then you realize I'm one of the smartest people you've ever met in your life. So, like,
I will say though, I feel like me, Kievosh, and Hunter, we all have a very, very similar way of thinking and
we
perceiving
also
the world.
butt heads all the
and
time.
I think,
too.
and I mean, not really that much, but
Yeah.
not really.
Wait, what'd you say?
But somewhat. But
Yeah,
I think,
somewhat.
They say butting
I
heads.
think you have a similar view on the world, but such an analytical and mathematical. So you kind of bring. I feel like you get to the same conclusion, but very different route.
different
Get it?
path,
different
same
path.
conclusion.
Different path.
And I think those are the best people to hang out with.
Yeah.
Like where you ultimately come to like a similar answer. And I feel the same way about you and Hunter as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously I'm getting to know you more, Kiwi, but like and that's why I love talking with you guys, because we end up at the same place. But it's like, I did not
The
think
way we
about
get
that.
there is, yeah.
I did not think about that at all. Like
Yeah.
at all. Like I took a path through the woods with like a backpack, and like you guys were like riding a submarine like
skydived.
around the world. Yeah, skydiving.
I
Like,
feel like I learned,
Digging
I learned
tunnels.
the same way from you too, talking with you
Yeah.
too.
and that's the thing, is like it's a mutual benefit, and that's what I feel like true friends are. Because something that I always think about is you are the 5 people you surround yourself with
For
the
sure.
most.
Yeah.
And like that's why out of like people that we were in Belgium with, like I still hang out with some of them, and I truly see value in their relationships. But I feel like when I'm talking with you guys, I'm growing,
Yeah.
and like I'm thinking about things differently. Like I mean, the whole like I was had one way of thinking on school. Like completely one way, and I was so sure of it for
Yeah.
for
I know where this is going.
19 for 19 years of my life. I knew this is how I did school, and then I
And
meet
you met the 2 dumbasses.
the
Who are low-key kinda smart,
the
though.
2 social engineers
Exactly.
who just
We're not doing that right now at all.
who just flipped my world upside down, and I was like, you know what, like whatever, like I'll try this, and I mean, shit, it worked, but
Yeah.
it was just it was a very interesting way of doing it, and it's like, and for so long I was like, oh, I would not, like I'm not gonna do it that way, or I'm gonna do it this way because this and this. But something I realized is, like, you kind of expanded my mind on this. Is I feel like growing up it was easy for me to like not necessarily conform, but make people happy around me, and like try and make sure that like I'm mediating the room. I mean, I'm the youngest child. It's a
Yeah.
common thing, but like you don't try and do that at all. Like you don't care if people around you are happy. You're just trying to
Alright.
get to like the okay,
Yeah,
that makes it sound like a
yeah,
dick.
yeah.
But like you'll care about people's feelings, but like if I don't want to say if they're in the way, but if they are going on a different route, you're just gonna be like, all right, you do
Yeah.
you do your route, I'm gonna do mine.
Yeah.
And
I
like
feel like a lot of times Vince will do that, but he also just wants you to match his energy too. Because if you have an opposing view from him, like he'll listen to your view.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're coming at it like sloppy or like,
And he'll truly
or
try and
weak,
understand it. He'll try
Yeah.
to understand it.
Yeah. I'd definitely say that you're very was like unique in that aspect. Like I don't know very many people like that.
I mean, I just want to find the best answer. I don't really care whose idea it was. Like, whoever's got the best one, let's just
Professors
put
do
them all.
not
I agree with
vibe
that.
with that.
You just don't have
Professors
patience
do not
for
vibe with
people.
That's why I like
that-
messing with professors, bro.
Yeah.
It's like, who do you think you are? You've been teaching the same way for the last 20 years. Like, probably haven't had a new thought in your, okay. Like, haven't been thinking about things very uniquely in a long time. Like, I'm going to at least test your buttons a little bit and see what you got. See, like,
Well, you want them. I feel like you expect people to look at things and enter problems the same way you do, where it's like
because I feel like it's the best way.
You're gonna
No,
get
I
let down
agree.
a lot though.
What?
You're gonna be disappointed a lot.
yeah.
So,
No, that's,
He
I'm
keeps
just saying.
his,
Yeah.
keeps his hopes high.
I do the same thing too, and it's
feel like you do the
disappointing.
same thing, Josh.
Yeah, I know, and it's disappointing. I feel like I just get way more disappointed than you do.
All right, bro, we get it. You get super disappointed.
I don't know, dude. Maybe I just get.
No,
it from my
I
mom or
get
something.
more disappointed.
Bro, you should meet my parents.
Not like that way. Not in that way. It's more just like I don't know.
I also think it's fun to test limits. Like, okay, you set this boundary for me. Like, how
It's-
are you want to die on that hill? Like,
See,
let's
that's the
see.
thing. To me, I never wanted to like push the boundary. I wanted to hit it.
Yeah.
Like for my entire life, I was just like, let me just get all the way up, like 100% full. And you're just like, what boundary? And you just like keep going. And
I think it's fun that
feel like
whenever
I've
you
learned
see a
lot.
line, like obviously don't get yourself in trouble. Like whenever you see a line, it's just like, how do I skip this?
Yeah.
Seriously.
I agree.
And then it's like, and then if you try to skip it, it's like, are you really willing to stop me? Like if I want to skip it, like most people would just walk up to a line and say,
No.
oh, do,
No.
I'm gonna fucking wait 45 minutes in this line. And I'm like, nah, bro, I'm gonna walk in the back door
Alright.
because I just like literally walked around the building and said, wow, this door's open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most people just go, oh, I guess I just gonna wait.
Like
in
we
line.
went hiking that one
Can't go through
time.
that door.
Yeah,
Yeah, like half our friends didn't come because they didn't
I
have
was literally
tickets.
giving a hype up speech. I was like, guys, there's no chance we can't sneak in. And everyone's like, bro, like, we don't have
The
tickets.
park ranger is
Yeah,
gonna
the park
get
rangers.
us.
We get there and there's one park ranger trying to check in like 100 people's passes, and we literally just walk straight past.
Yeah, even the people with tickets didn't give the park ranger the ticket. We all just walked in.
So the stoplight coming from R2 when you're walking, and there's all those people waiting. There's people waiting in a non-existent
Yeah.
line to cross the street. Like I just go
Crosswalks are
up,
the
I go
dumbest
up
thing I've
and
ever seen,
stand
bro.
at the front of
Yeah.
like where I don't want to get hit by a car because there's no line. Like there's people waiting like 20 paces behind everyone else because there's just other people standing there. Like they're putting
they're-
themselves in a box that doesn't exist.
They're running on idle. Like
Yeah.
they're NPCs.
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah.
like. But I think it's a mindset, and people
is a
are
mindset.
stuck in a mindset. And I think it comes a lot from like you're saying, like the producers are lowering and the consumption is increasing.
Yeah.
And part of consuming is just doing whatever's easiest and just going with what people are doing around you.
Just listening to
Because-
what other people are telling you to do.
Yeah, and that in a sense is easy, because that's another thing that I think it's easy to just listen and like let other people make decisions for you,
Right.
because it's harder to make decisions, but you don't get to reap the benefit. You don't get to see all the amazing effects if you don't go out on a limb and try something new.
Right.
And that's why I'm always trying to do new stuff. Like I'm never trying to do the same thing I did last semester. Like
For sure.
Every semester in school, I've tried to overload myself.
Challenge
Obviously,
yourself.
what?
You gotta just challenge yourself, especially at a young
Exactly.
age. You gotta teach yourself how to. You gotta teach yourself how to overcome obstacles.
Bro, I did not think I was gonna take a leadership role. Like I was
Yeah.
never really like leaders are not born, they're formed. And I think
You are the president of your fraternity. If people haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, just so you know, just so
That was
you know.
half sarcastic, half informative.
But
we can
like,
get into that.
but I did not expect to take a leadership role. And like when we were in Belgium, I got a call 2 weeks before elections were supposed to happen, and they were like, "Oh, like you thinking about running? Like what's going on?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna be fully into my major, taking a lot of like hard classes. I'm gonna be getting a job. I just like have so much on my plate. Like I don't know if I'm ready." And I'll remember this. And the former president said, "You're never gonna be ready. You just got to take that step." And I did, and obviously there are things that I dislike about it, but there are things that I love about it. You know, I don't want to say manipulation, the influence. Like
Yeah.
I've always been a younger brother, and now I get to be the big brother. I get to like help these young guys, and the pure joy that I get of like seeing these young guys come in as freshmen, be like not confident in themselves and not sure what they're doing, and watch them turn into these amazing like young men who are like distinguished. They have people around them who support them. They love each other and are confident in themselves, and I could see them doing great things later in life. Like, I don't care how much shit people give me. I don't care how much they say, you know, like, oh, like, you should have done this differently or this differently, because everyone has their opinions, and, you know, no one thinks about their repercussions because it's not their job. But I don't, like, I can take that as much more, and that will still make it worth it, to just have had that impact on these young guys. Because, I love my older brothers. I look up to them like idols. Like, they're like people who I want to be like. And, I mean, I feel like that's another thing. It's just like family. And it's the Jewish fraternity. Like, it's the same community. Yeah. It's part of, like, what I love. And maybe there's a Jewish aspect. There's a brotherhood aspect to it. But I think that is amazing. And so that goes back to the, what is victory without the taste of defeat? The way you got to work for things make things so much sweeter and that much better. So I guess, like you guys were saying with the podcast, like this conversation's easy now. This conversation's sweet and like what I've been wanting because we had to plan for it. And you guys worked, you just guys gave me questions like, oh, look at these. Yeah. I did like, 20 minutes of preparation, but you guys have been preparing for this for super long. And so to see you guys, come together on this is really awesome. But do you want to like move to a different topic?
Well, let me ask you this.
Okay.
How many clubs do you think you could name, or organizations at JMU do you think you can name off the top of your head? Like 40 to 50, probably?
Yeah, maybe like 30.
Okay, there's like 490 here.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a huge platform for if you're a freshman and if you're at JMU, like, you don't really know what's going on. You kind of just do whatever your hallmates are doing. Oh, maybe your friend's older brother went to JMU. He told you to rush some frat. Now you're rushing some frat. You saw some sign about some club you thought might have been cool, but maybe not. You never heard anything about it again. But it's like we have the opportunity to get some seriously impactful and inspirational people on at JMU at this podcast. And if we can get a good audience, especially of like freshmen and younger people, I think it could change the game. Because like, let's say we get the like for instance, Club Jiu-Jitsu you think had a good impact on you.
For sure.
Okay, we have someone from Club Jiu-Jitsu, the president, on.
Yeah.
To just come on and just talk about what it's done for him and what it means to him and what the community means within JMU, like that small jiu-jitsu community. Like, a bunch of people are going to listen to that, and even if it impacts 15 people to inspire them to come out, that's 15 college careers we just changed.
Yeah.
All because we just made a platform. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing, is like there's the JMU community, but everyone's looped into their own community.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know you guys until junior year of college, and like
Yeah.
I didn't realize how narrow and like focused my view was until I talked to you guys and saw how different your view of the same community, the same campus, the same physical area is. And like,
yeah. And I think everyone's kind of caught in their ways.
No, exactly.
There's a lot of people here.
Yeah.
This is a pretty big
And
school.
we're
A lot of
definitely
people
caught
over
in different
20,000.
pockets.
Yeah.
Like the way you were talking about your fraternity and I generally don't think my president would have the same view on like his people, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'd say
it's a different job.
It is.
It's
It is a different job.
I don't think you're saying that in a negative way.
I'm not saying in a negative way. I'm just saying it's different.
They're different institutions. They're there for different
Of course,
reasons.
my experience of JMU would be different than yours because I'm kind of in a different pocket, you know.
Exactly.
And I think that's okay for people.
Well, I'd say
people to be
you're
in-
pretty out of pocket.
I'm in no pockets whatsoever.
That was good.
The pocket that I tend to go to on like Thursday, Friday nights, and sometimes Saturday during the days. That's like a pocket.
And the occasional Mark Monday.
Yeah, the occasional Monday or Tuesday night if I don't have class or something.
Wine Wednesday.
Let's get Theta Thursdays. Anyway, that's just it's just a different pocket than some people, but I still love conversations with people that are not in those same sects, and I think that other people should enjoy that too,
You
but they're
learn a
kind
lot.
of too stuck in their ways.
Just talking to like, I don't know, when I went into like the jiu-jitsu club, these were some people I've not even had like remote interactions with. And same thing like over summer break when I went to like an MMA gym. People in martial arts are like really weird. They're either like people who used to kind of like be kind of like shy and they went there to get confidence. So now you kind of see what these people formed into, you know, and it's really, really unique.
I watch them grow into themselves.
It's a
Exactly.
process.
Yeah,
It's a process.
It's such a process,
I
and they're
feel
all
like-
such hard workers. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
You have to be an MMA. Like,
Yeah.
you're fighting.
You're
Like,
working, yeah. There's stakes. There's a lot of stakes.
having those different views and like you knowing those people happens because like you're comfortable talking to a bunch of different people. Whereas I was talking about one of the pockets that I'm in. I'm just making up that term.
Yeah.
Like there's a
I
lot
think
of
it's a good
people
term.
in those pockets, and it's a pocket for a reason.
7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. 7 out of 10.
Mid as shit.
We can come up with a different term for it later. But there's a lot of people that are in those pockets, and they're pockets for a reason because these people are only in them. Like you were talking about your best 5 friends, your closest 5 friends are like the people that you're most like.
Yeah.
Like I'd say we're all well-rounded in who those 5 people are. Like you, Vince, Kiwi, John Luke, like, you know what I'm saying? These are the type of people that I'm talking to. They're all different people going different things every day.
What's like which one Mike was Vince's? Remember?
2 or 1.
I think it was 1. Keep going. Just like I was. Well, one thing I can piggyback off of that is I think the idea that would benefit everybody is to put yourself in as many pockets as possible. Because like one of my like foundational beliefs, just like how I want to conduct life, is like bare minimum absorb as many perspectives as possible. Because that's just how you're going to learn so much stuff. You get so much interesting information
100% agree.
from human beings. The internet is awesome,
100%.
but it's like you don't know who that person is, and it's like it feels
You don't see their story, you just see the product.
exactly like learning about like Iran from my parents is way different than watching a YouTube video. They're telling me what was going on the ground, what was happening to like all the people around them, how it affected like talking to those Holocaust survivors, way different than reading Anne Frank. Like Anne Frank is a very influential book that like
Yeah.
so many people acknowledge.
I mean, all she did was sit in an attic all day, but
But like when talking to those actual people, they're giving you like detailed information. Like
go do something.
Yeah.
No, but I agree where it's like you get that personal perspective, and I feel like that's part of being human is it's not gonna resonate with you unless you get that personal experience, and that's why I try so much, like you're saying, finding all these different pockets, trying to do all these new things, and you know, dip your toe in so many different waters because you're not gonna know what it is until you try it.
Yeah.
Like I mean, and it seems like a silly example, but I used to be a really picky eater. And it was like I didn't want to try new foods because I was like, why would I do that when I'm so comfortable with what I know?
I know I'll like this,
With-
so I'll just eat that.
I think that's a great analysis.
And it's like I'm so comfortable with this, and I go to this restaurant. I know I like this, so why don't I keep getting it? But maybe there's it's 10 out of 10 on my scale right now. But then I try something else, and it becomes an 8. And I try something else, and it becomes a 5. And I try something else, and it becomes a 3. Like you're not gonna get this perspective, this scale, unless you go out and try these things. And obviously, you're gonna try something. Sometimes you're like, all right, damn, that kind of sucked.
At
But
least
like,
you know.
But now you know.
At least you went down trying.
And
You know what I mean?
now you don't have to question it, and you can find like I think about this so frequently, and I've brought this down to this analogy that I've talked with my dad a lot about, and it applies to like almost everything, but I use it simply as finding your favorite color, right? So let's say I want to find my favorite color, and you go, oh, like let's try orange. You try orange, you're like, this is cool, but like it's a little too warm for me. So then you go and try purple, and you're like, oh, this is more my vibe. It's like a cooler color, more flowy. I like this, but this is not exactly it. So then you go to blue, and you're like, oh, wow, blue is so much better than purple, and orange doesn't even compare anymore. Like, blue is what I want. And then you're in blue, and you don't even realize it, but you see turquoise one day, and you're like, holy shit, I didn't realize it could get this good. Like, this is amazing. And you found what you were not even looking for. Like, you're looking for that color, and then you find the shade. Like, it's all about going deeper into these new experiences and learning from them. That's why I'm so glad we went to Belgium and went to Europe and experienced these new things.
Also, just doing things makes you a cooler, more interesting person,
it's true. From an external perspective, it
which
does.
leads to more cool and interesting things.
Yeah,
like,
that's facts.
you get that rush.
You get that rush, and you also get like I can hang with you. You know, it's like you've done a bunch of cool stuff, so have I. What can we do together that's cool? You know what I mean? And then
podcast.
You just go, podcast.
I had this experience. I know you had this experience like before us going and living in Europe. Because a lot of people had the opportunity to do so, but their reasoning was, I'm comfortable here. Why would I do that? When it's like that was.
So are those people
Probably
those people just? Do you think they're just doomed? Like if they have the natural instinct to just say, I don't want to go out and explore a great opportunity. I want to stay. Where I'm
I think
comfortable."
they need to get pushed.
Yeah.
I think that's
What do you mean
most
get
natural
pushed?
people's natural instinct.
I wanna
is to
speak-
stay with comfortable. Oh, sorry, I'm not.
No,
I'm trying to
no,
interrupt.
yeah, go ahead. I just wanted to speak on behalf of like all of us here, especially like Kiwi and Vince, just like kind of one of our missions for why we're doing this. Like, we understand we're not perfect people, but we also want people to be the best versions of themselves they can be, and none of us believe that you can do that without taking any risks.
Yeah, I agree.
So if you're just sitting there, just like floating through life, doing what everyone else does because it's easy and comfortable, I don't think that you will actually be satisfied or happy with your life, and neither will we. That's part of the reason why we're doing this. And we don't want to come across as like super cocky, super arrogant, act like we know everything. We're learning while we're doing this. But we think that this is one of our first steps into helping other people do this and also helping ourselves. This is like a personal thing and something for all of our listeners
I
too.
mean, if you really analyze what we're doing, like, this isn't really scripted out. Like, it's sort of the introduction was like, all right, boys, what do we want to start with? That's
I don't even think we
So this isn't scripted.
got an answer. I think we
Like,
just said it and didn't do
We're
anything.
taking a
Just kept going.
We're taking a relatively big risk, just blasting our true thoughts out to all of you guys. And obviously, they're filtered thoughts, and like, we're not just being completely
Yeah, edit that out.
idiotic.
Edit that out.
Yeah, we're probably gonna edit this one out. But like,
if we were hanging out and just like shooting shit with each other, there might be a lot more F words and like you might not like us, but that's just part of our humor too. It's like part of our satire. So when we're actually
We're just
sitting
warming
down-
them up.
Yeah, we're warming them up.
It's gonna be
When we're
different.
trying to like filter our thoughts and think
Preheat.
things through.
Yeah, we're preheating the oven.
Yeah,
right
we're
now.
preheating the
preheating
oven
the
right
oven.
now.
It's a
Yeah.
600.
It's at about like it's at about like one
it's not like
We're not just cooking salmon.
the salmon's getting burned instantly.
There's actually one thing I really want to say that I think is really, really important.
But we should probably wrap this up soon because it's been like an hour.
All right,
and
this is.
20, so
We
I
can
think-
wrap it up. We can wrap it up with this.
I don't want my phone to die, so
So a second ago, Aiden was talking about being a picky eater, and so like one thing that kind of reminds me of is this is kind of happening to me a little more recently as I'm getting older too. The more things I realize that like I'm scared of, like eating foods and stuff, is more motivation to push yourself, because all of a sudden you just cross the boundary, and now it just gets easier to cross another boundary, you know. So you don't want to go to Europe. If you pushed yourself to go to Europe or just go study abroad to exit the environment you are comfortable in, the next time you want to do something like that, it will be so much easier. So I'm kind of excited that like I kind of grew up with a lot of fears like eating food, because now I have a lot of opportunity to keep jumping over boundaries and pushing myself. So like all those people that are listening that kind of felt like maybe this message was going towards them, and maybe you even took it a little hostily, but like this is like a time for you to think like, okay, now I can like start like, I don't even know like how to describe it, but like exercise your brain, exercise like your
Yeah,
soul.
it's a
to start
muscle.
pushing
It's
yourself.
overcoming
Yeah.
fear is literally a skill you have to develop.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a skill, and eventually, as you do it, there's like a rush out of
Yeah.
it. There's no better, like for me, especially. I mean, we're all college age guys. Like we're at a point in our life where we're growing and changing a lot. But right now, like there's nothing better to me than what growth feels like.
Yeah.
Like trying something new and knowing where I feel like I'm finding my place. And maybe that's something you do in college or around our age, but I don't view myself ever stopping doing that thing. Like,
I don't ever want to stop.
I
wanna
never
do
want to
this
stop
till I'm
growing.
old, man.
I want to obviously like I'm gonna work like a corporate job, but like I already know I'm not staying there. Like
Yeah.
my end goal is to start my own business because it
Sorry,
kinda-
Capital One.
yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
I love you guys. But
Give me money.
Give me money. But yeah, for me personally, I remember in high school, I walked home from my friend Julian's house one time when I was a junior in the middle of the night.
you told me the story.
And I was literally so scared. And like we come from a super safe neighborhood. Like there wasn't really too much real threat to be scared of. But I remember being genuinely petrified with fear that I'm sprinting home for no reason. And I remember I got home and I laid in bed and I was like, all right, if I'm that scared of that, which is really no real danger, I got no chance.
Yeah, I gotta keep
I got
pushing.
no chance. So I literally don't know if I got in the car for the rest of high school.
Yeah.
At nighttime. Like seriously. And like that led to other things, to being able to
Yeah, no, it
that
does.
led to being able to be like, yeah, I'll go to Europe, whatever.
yeah,
Who
you
cares?
get that little, and then you're
You
like,
get some momentum, you're like, yeah, I can
no,
do
but
that.
gotta
after
start small.
After you do it, you're like,
Yeah.
damn, I really just did that.
Yeah.
Like that was like a big feat to me, but like that was way easier than I thought. And it's really that first step that's so hard for so many people, and that's why I think people need a lot of
It
little
almost
push.
shifts from I really just did that to what's next.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
facts.
You know
I
what
agree
mean?
with that.
What's next?
And I think that's all like partially like that's why we get along so well, is we all went to Europe with that mindset of trying to grow and trying to learn and trying all these new things. And I mean, even when I was there, I did stuff I didn't think I was gonna do. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you guys didn't do
Skydiving?
I did canyoning. I didn't do
Oh,
skydiving.
okay,
Oh yeah.
But the canyoning was.
Yeah.
I mean, I never thought I was gonna do that.
Right.
Like, it was like 4 hours of base jumps into water, and you're sitting.
These were like crazy jumps too. Like
Yeah. I mean, we were wearing helmets, lifeguard or life vests.
Is the helmet gonna do anything at that point if you're jumping off a cliff?
And you
I mean-
gotta jump like 30 feet into like a 3-foot.
Yeah. So so the thing is the range of jumps were from 9 feet to 40 feet, and you're in a
40 feet is high.
yeah. No, I mean, it's high, especially when you get up there. But you get in a wetsuit and you're there, and you feel this rush of just like adrenaline, and you're sitting at the bottom, and it's waterfall to waterfall, right? So you're sitting at the bottom of one waterfall, you can't see the next, and they say, oh, okay, when you get up here, like aim for the bubbles or aim for the dark section. You're like, easy, I can do that. And you step up and you look down, and it's 25 feet. That looks a lot higher when you're standing up there, and you're like, the bubbles are like this tiny circle at the bottom, and you're like, oh shit, I gotta land right there. And every time the guys did this, they said 3, 2, 1, and every single time, not one person didn't hesitate.
Yeah.
And that's why. And they said we had a good group because no one hesitated. You gotta sometimes in your life you gotta give yourself that 3, 2, 1, and just fucking jump. Like, just jump. And it was amazing. I mean, my legs were shaking like from adrenaline, which was that was sick. And I that was probably one of my favorite things I've ever done in my entire life, and while I was in Europe specifically.
That's a lot of things about taking risks. Like, that experience was so great, and like the risk, sure, the negative outcome, like the opportunity cost of if you would have like messed up your leg or something was like bad, but I feel like the chances of that happening are way less than like a positive outcome happening. And a lot of people don't take risks because they could either stay at that medium that they're at, or go here, or go here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like that's what they don't understand. And like
You went from middle very low, and this is a very high for anyone
like, a
who's
lot
not
of the best
watching the
things in
video.
my life, a lot of the best experiences I've ever had have come from that. Have come from, I took a risk. Sure, my life would have been worse if it didn't work out, but it's ultimately better in the long run because it did.